I'd like to, I'm Commissioner Bates for Goldfield, I think you all know me, and I'd like to introduce the Republican candidate for Congress, Crescent Hardy. He's a native Nevada, born and raised in Mesquite, Nevada, and we'll turn it over to him.
Thank you. I'm going to stand and say a few words and sit down and answer any of your questions you like. First of all, I'd just like to thank you guys for being here and thank you for the opportunity to host me and the opportunity to speak to you. I think that these rural communities are what rural Nevada used to be like. And so things that people don't understand today is, that Nevada is one of the most urban populations in one nation. Think about that. Most urban population in the nation, and we have all this vast land out here. And it's because we have very little land that we can utilize to grow our economy and other issues. But it's been a privilege to serve. Like I said, I'm a native Nevada. I'm a fifth-generation son of farming ranchers out of a little place called Mesquite. My great-great-grandfather is actually the original settler of the valley, along with the bunkers. So it's been a privilege to represent. And this is something that I really ever aspired to do. But because of the way I was raised, my parents used to tell me certain things. My dad was a pretty colorful individual. He had a vocabulary that was considered swearing, but he said it was the lack thereof. So, but he used to say things like, "Damn it, son, don't come to me with a problem unless you got an answer how to fix it, because you sure as heck ain't gonna like the one I got. Son, if you want the horse or the buggy to go where you want it to go, take care of control the reins. Stop sitting on the back of the saddle." And I don't know if most people don't understand, there was actually 20 commandments. He said Moses wrote the best ones, 11 through 20. And number 11 was thou shalt not whine. And we won't talk about all those others. So with that being said, how do I get involved in politics? This is not an aspiration for me. It's a privilege to serve anytime, any place you're at. It's not easy. But I believe that's what our founding fathers intended, is citizen representation. And I think it starts from bottom-up politics, not top-down. I think that the federal government has grown outside of its bounds. It's taken on responsibilities that were better handled in the states. I think that has a lot to do with states and governors not standing up and saying, "No, you're usurping your authority." But that's kind of one of the frustrations and the reason I'm here. I like to say I'm a constitutional conservative. I'm elected a Republican. But being elected Republican doesn't mean that when you get there you just represent Republicans. I believe that we represent, in my district, it's almost 730,000 people. We represent everybody in that district, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, or Republican, all alike. And I've done the best I can to try to represent those folks. One of the honors that I can say that's been neat, I've been blessed with a great staff, district staff. And I think they've been out in this area, they've been all over this district, trying to reach out and let people know that we're there to serve. Last year, we solved over 400 cases in our district for veterans issues, for senior citizens, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid issues. That was almost $500,000 of benefits that were owed to people that we got back in their hands. It's sad that our federal government, you have to go through your congressman sometimes to get your benefit that you deserve. And they learn. But it's a privilege to have the honor to do that. So, but again, I think it's key to know that I'm a target, number one target in the nation. People don't think I should have been here, shouldn't have been here. And I think last time people voted because I am representative of all walks of life. And that's my desire to continue to do so. I am a representative of the people. I will never forget that. I'll never forget my constitutional privilege to represent you. You're the voice that I try to hear. Now, not all of you in the district agree with the same thing, so you have to go sometimes where maybe your views and opinions aren't like, but you have to represent the masses, but not ever leave the minority behind. Never forget what I believe to be our founding fathers' principles. With that, I'm just going to take the time, just turn the time over to you guys. Hear about your issues, what your questions are, what can I do to help, and go from there.
Congressman, before they start into it, first welcome. We're glad you're here. I don't know what you you're up against. We're here in rural Nevada. Of course, you already know about Goldfield, and one time it was the largest city in Nevada. Now we're down to nothing. But the people here are very hardworking. We've lost our hospital in Tonopah, which you know about. Larry here is an EMT. When they pick up somebody here, they have to take them into the airport for a flight for life to go into Las Vegas, or else they have to take them to Hathorne to a hospital, where she could pass away by the time they get there. These are some of the problems that are facing us, and these gentlemen here, which are very well learned, are ex-commissioner and these people about. We have an airstrip here, or did have, and we're trying to get it reopened again, where at least a flight for life to get here in time to save someone. So we have some issues. We understand that it's controlled by the BLM, which everything is. We have issues that are unique to us here, maybe just in Goldfield, even Hathorne or Beatty or whatever it's around. I know these gentlemen do it. We appreciate very much. In the time my family founded this town 113 years ago, and I've been here ever since. But anyway, we're very proud of our community, and we need help. To my knowledge, this is the first time, except Representative Heller came when he was going to run for when he first announced he was running for congressman from the district, but he was Secretary of State then. This is the first time, to my knowledge, we've had a sitting United States congressman stopped in Goldfield. And I want you to know, even though maybe a lot of people aren't here, they all know you're here. And Larry here has had I think every house in Goldfield must have got a brochure that you were coming, so that they know you're here. And even though they may not be here, they are appreciated that you would take your time. I just wanted to say that before these people get down to the nitty-gritty problems. Thank you for coming.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, it is a privilege, and that's what I represent. At the smallest level to the big community in Las Vegas, you're here to represent all the people. Now, I used to get a little frustrated with our congressman, even coming out to Mesquite, not seeing folks. Figured they had more time, but I found out something. That first year in Congress, every 2 years we get to run for election. That first year, you're pretty much booked in Washington, D.C. Now, do I think that we need to spend all that time in Washington, D.C.? I think we could move faster, get things done, come home, and turn a lot of this over to states and spend less time in Washington being full-time. And we've been pretty much full-time up until now. Now it'll start taking months, and so that's why Congress people show up at election time, is because that's the recess period that we get. But we've been out in the district. I've been over this district, I think, twice now since I've been in office. Not adequately what I wanted to do. I was here just last time, was here on your radio show, which was kind of fun to visit and discuss. So it is a privilege. Every community in Nevada, I don't care if it's Washoe County, right there in Reno, Sparks is different than Reno, Reno's different than Carson City. Every community is different, just like every school is different. Just, so everybody has specific challenges. That's what we have to listen. A lot of people mistake federal issues with state issues. I get asked a lot of state questions. I think it's wrong for me to try to take on those state issues. I can help and assist. I think it's my privilege, and I can talk to the governor and do those things. But I don't want to turn that authority over to the federal government. I want governors and state legislators to be able to deal with those issues, because it gets out of your hands. This one-size-fits-all that goes in the federal government, it sucks, in my opinion. It's part of the problem. Like the overtime rule. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. But the new administration has come down with an overtime ruling. Now it's almost $48,000 increased to anybody that's on a salary of $48,000 a year or less. You can't work as a salaried employee without getting paid overtime. Well, that's going to kill businesses. How many businesses out in the rural can afford to pay $48,000 a year? So it's those type of things. The better handled through Congress, and that's where we're working on some of those issues. We found over the last 30, 40 years, 50 years, that things have changed. As Congress has turned way too much power over to administrators, which we've lost our governance. Now, It was originally intended that under the Constitution, that the Congress was to go there and represent the people, represent you as individuals, and work on your issues, pass laws, and the President was to uphold laws. Because of some of the things that's happened over the years, we've lost that power because we turned that regulatory over to administrators, which gives presidents and administrators, organizations, now they're creating laws. And because of precedents, judges uphold those regulatory reforms as law. And so we've got to take back our constitutional authority, in my opinion. So. Any questions?
Well, we have a couple local issues, and Doc, you talked about one of them. Goldfield had an airstrip, and I guess this is more of a state thing, but I guess we'll share with you some of our issues here. For whatever reason, it was taken off the map in, I believe, 2002. So really, we don't have an airstrip that serves us, even though we're the county seat. And we're trying to get the airstrip back on the map. It's a 3,300-foot airstrip just on the north edge of town. And there's also a mile-long airstrip about 5 miles north of town that was from World War II. It was a training emergency landing strip because we had Tonopah Air Force Base. So they have landing strips all throughout every valley. So we're trying to get airstrips back online for us. And the BLM recently said, well, they're trying to get out of the business of running airports. But and I know there's a significant difference between an airport and an airstrip. So we just have to have a good dirt runway. But in case we run into any really big snags with the BLM, we might be able to lean on it.
Absolutely. I think that's what I'm here for. These are federal issues that we can work with. Dollars are tight and getting tighter. But in certain circumstances, one of my arguments is that's why it's so important for you or the state to be in control of some of this land instead of the federal government controlling 85% of our state. You might be able to move forward and do certain things easier through a state process than you can through the federal government side. Everything on the federal lands has to go through Congress. It has to deal with 135 in my house and 100 in the others.
Right.
We've had some successes, by the way.
And I appreciate that, because oftentimes we feel like we're dealing with a nationwide mandate. Even though our issues are very local, but it's just sometimes when you're talking to these folks, it's handed down from the White House. It's a nationwide mandate, and it's very tough to overcome those things sometimes.
No, I'm in agreement. When 3% of the land east of the Rockies is all that's held by the federal government, and almost 60% west of the Rockies is held by the federal government, it tells you a little bit about why our founding fathers wanted the equal footing doctrine. What does that equal footing doctrine mean? It means we're all on the same fair and equal footing. That means we were supposed to have our lands for taxation, for education, for infrastructure, and other. There's medical services. You have to have taxable properties, and you have to have economies. Now, Nevada, granted, it's not a place where you're going to put vast amounts of people, but with economic opportunities, every community can grow. But when you have limited lands, drives the values of property up so high that not even the entry-level home buyer can ever afford the property, let alone the home. That's happening in the Las Vegas Valley. That's why we have some of the most high-dollar real estate anywhere in the country, because it's limited. And as you build out, we've had to dispose of lands, but every time you turn around, you have to go through this process, and the federal bureaucrats fight that disposal of lands that has already been approved by Congress. And these are some of the major challenges happening in our states.
Well, the states in the West have never taken back their public lands. The states in the East, they haven't forced the issue, but they took back the public lands. But that's a whole other conversation, and I don't think that's what we're here for today.
No, but that's part of the issue that I talk about, state lands.
And I'll introduce another topic. Our high school building was built in 1907. It was used as a school building through 1954. It's now owned by a nonprofit, local nonprofit, but it has some major structural issues, and we've been raising some money to help rebuild it as a museum and cultural center for the town, for the area. And one of the things we were able to get was a Save America's Treasures Program grant. However, we got that grant just when
financial crisis hit in 2008. You can't match it with federal money, but we were going to match it with state, and we matched some of it with state money, but we really couldn't do it because the state of Nevada for 2 legislature sessions in a row didn't put out any money to be used for matching. So we used about, I'd say 1/10 of the money that we were promised. And but if we could get some kind of help, grant money or whatever kind of help us finish that project and open up that building to the public again. But I'll let John expound on it more, what we've been doing and how far we've gotten.
John Ackerman with the Goldfield Historical Society. I realize money's tight, as you said. The program that we originally came on to was the National Park Service for Interior Save Records Treasures program, and we got $300,000 and we had to match it, and in the end we could not match very much because of the economy in the state. That was the state's responsibility. The president zeroed out the funding for Save Records Treasures the last 2 budgets, so there is no more Save Records Treasures. I understand trying to increase the budget with things that most people don't understand is going to be difficult. I would like to say that the resources in Nevada are, of course, wide open spaces, tourism, which includes gambling, mining, of course, a little bit of agriculture. But one of the big resources, and one that's getting bigger, is historic resources of tourism for history's sake. And in fact, the Nevada Department of Tourism calls it heritage tourism. And we are just beginning to do that in Goldfield, and we're already seeing an increase in our business as a result of trying to put forth an effort to preserve our history. And I would just like to hope that if legislation comes across your desk that would be in support of preserving more of Nevada's history, including that of Goldfield, which of course pulled Nevada out of a terrible depression at the Tonopah Goldfield vote. I would hope that you would look very, very seriously at that legislation.
I look forward to it. If there's something I can do to help, other than that, just let me know where.
Then you might just be hearing from us.
Yes.
If it's any help, we're in the National Historic District right here, which includes the high school, state and National Historic District, since 1995, I believe.
Actually, late 80s, actually.
1985. We've been in a National Historic District since 1985, and I believe about 2003 we did the paperwork and followed through, and now we're in the State Historic District, which is kind of, sounds a little backwards to me, but we got on the federal registry first. So if it's any help, our buildings, our historic structures are in a National Historic District. So if there's any kind of legislation that comes through that can help historic structures, we're already in the Historic District.
Well, and I have to agree that Goldfield is unique in itself, and tourism in Nevada is changing. People are looking more for than just gaming. As you know, the revenue dollar from gaming has gone way down. It used to be about 70 cents on every dollar come from gaming. Now it's less than 40 cents on every dollar comes from gaming. People are coming for activities, for recreation activities, and so I'm hoping that the Nevada Historical Society, with that tourism in, can help with some of these dollars too, for matching dollars if federal dollars do come. So
they are beginning to step up as the economy is improving just a very little. Of course, we appreciate that, and we try to work with those state representatives. But I just want to make sure that you're on the same page with respect to historic preservation, also when it comes to improving our economy.
there's some issues that are going on over in Tonopah with this hospital situation. You know, they've got a hospital taxing district, and now because somebody determined that they can't utilize that money for this clinic, they got about $700,000+ sitting there that they can't utilize to help grow the clinic. So we're setting up an appointment with the governor and hopefully some commissioners to sit down with the governor hopefully next week and have this discussion. Maybe he can help through this process. I'm willing to do the same thing on this type of process. Let's see if I can set up something where we get you guys together and sit down. Maybe, you know, sometimes top down actually has a little more clout than most.
Sometimes, mostly.
This is obviously a very important issue to us because we're trying to regrow our town. And you have to have a certain population base to have all your basic services. If you want to get gas station back, have some basic services here. We need a certain level of population, but we really can't grow our population if the closest hospital is 2.5 hour drive. So it's a huge issue for us, even for those that are here, and even try to grow our town, because one of the first things asked is what's available medical-wise. And it's a total turnout. There's, I can't see people leave the area as soon as the hospital shuts down.
Some of the more major challenges we have with our hospital and tourism, back to tourism again, hospitals have a lot to do with tourism. People need medical attention, and what I hear is a lot of these major challenges we have with emergency has to do with tourists coming out and getting on four wheels, going on trail rides, stuff like that. When you don't have that ability to take care of those people who get sometimes of their own cause and a challenge and hurt them, then it's going to make people reconsider whether they want to come.
For some reason, foreigners seem to have the worst amount of accidents on our highways. They're just not used to our systems. So the same thing, they're tourists through the area, saying that they have to be flown out or driven long distances to get medical attention when there's a serious accident.
You've lost your golden hour.
Yeah, and that's why I believe that, you have these two urban areas that we want to attract tourism and want to utilize the rural end. They also need to step up to the plate to help protect their side also with this hospital or whatever, in my opinion. States should be a team effort and all across. How to get that all together, I leave that in your hands to help me, to help you.
Dominic, would you ask me something you want to ask?
No, because Dominic already brings every issue that they got, so I'm good. Thank you.
Now, something, I don't know if it's the right time to bring it up. I don't know if there's any other local issues to talk about, but Death Mountain, I'm not sure what to talk about Death Mountain or not.
I'll tell you exactly what I got. I have it.
Okay. Because I was always a believer in the project that would be good for some jobs, money, infrastructure, money for our higher education, and I believe that the bigger population areas will be poisoned against the idea of it. So it's hard to talk to anybody like in Vegas about it without looking at you like I want to get somebody.
Well, I'm finding out, and the reason I made the op-ed that I stated early on in my, after I got elected, this is a discussion for Nevada, not for our elite politicians to make these decisions. Now, I think we have to have this discussion because I believe that this is federal land. The federal government has the ability to try to shove it down our throats. I'll fight against anything the federal government does to try to shove it to us. But my philosophy is, let's have that open discussion. Let's sit down and listen to all the issues. It's safety, safety, safety. That's what it's about. So now we've done all the reviews. They've done over 1,900 different types of tests and studies. Is this the perfect area? There's no such thing as a perfect area. Is it the best area? They say it's the best area. But with that, now if you're going to come out and try to do something, let's have the discussion. What's in it for Nevada? If you're going to be our waste site, what's in it? So people can now be educated and understand and decide whether they really want to move forward on this. It should be the people's decision, not Crescent Hardy's decision, Harry Reid's decision, or anybody else's decision when it comes down to it. So that's how I've always addressed it. That's how I believe it. So I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. That sounds kind of cliche, but really, let's have the discussion.
It could be a one-sided view for me, but the way I view it, it's a billion-dollar industry that's trying to come to your area, but they won't let it come. So that might be a one-sided view, but there's a lot of positives. Now that material is going to go through a vitrification process, which means it's going to be turned into glass material, and then put inside tubes, and then encased in 2 inches of stainless steel. So right now I'm trying to understand how that's going to work its way through a water table miles away, 10,000 years from now. But I mean, it's going to be, as far as that kind of material goes, it's going to be as safe as it can get.
That's why it's an education process. When you include the people, you educate the people now they understand it. Right now, that has never had the opportunity to come out there. It's just, I understand the stupid attitude. I would have been mad as hell too if I was elected a politician there. But this is not about, we just have to have that
There's
discussion.
another side of that story too. Most people don't realize that Harry Reid and many people were in favor of Death Mountain in the 80s. As a matter of fact, they were so much in favor of this project that they created its own county, the Goldfield County.
Really well.
Okay. So you know the story. So they created the county. However, the problem with this county is there's no residents, there's no people, there's no elected officials. I'm going to guess that the state wanted to control all the revenues that goes into this area pertaining to the project. So it was my county sued and they got their land back and it was a bullfrog. But for some reason after that, officials were turned against it. So for me, it was more about control of the money, not so much safety. It went from we're in support of it to we're they have to find a reason why they're not in support of it. And safety was the best thing they could hang their hat on. So they've been doing their best to say this is not safe, we're not going to allow it in. But it was more about control of the money. Because at one time they were in favor of it. So much so they were willing to create a new county in Nevada. So it's all politics as far as from that perspective, from that point.
All those actions back
You know, Congressman, was talking about that. I was bragging about my Myers side of the family here, but my mother's side are Lambs. You may have heard of them.
Still a few of those.
Yeah, I know you do. They're probably related. But anyway, I remember when they were dropping the bombs, my uncle Floyd was sitting down in the backyard of my mother and said, "Isn't that beautiful going up? That's going to bring people here." Of course, it was all coming down on us. But that was a big thing. Oh, do anything we can to make this. They were all there. Harry Reid, all of it. Then, of course, the gaming changed it. I'm not saying I'm for it. I don't know if it's good or bad. Kind of like you, but there should be discussion. But how we started out, this is the greatest. Even remember the casinos in Las Vegas had the picture of the bomb going off in the air.
You used to have viewing areas for it.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So things change, population changes, and we're well aware that Las Vegas, with all their millions, and Reno, that we're really nothing out here to many people. I've always felt that you, maybe from your background and stuff, are aware of what we are, and there are other Democrats and Republicans that are well aware of our area, but they're very, very few. And their voices aren't heard because of our low population. The commissioner, you were talking about, what funding do we get? You said it comes, instead of the acres, it comes from people?
Yeah, help money comes by, it's determined by population rather than by acreage in the county. We have a lot of acreage, but very little population.
Taxes.
So we get very little help money because although we have an enormous amount of acreage, we have a very small population. So we get very little help.
That's not automatic. I think it has to be voted
So
on.
it's every year it's a vote and struggle because people back there are long tired of sending the less money. I got a trade deal for you.
Yeah, but those lands are being used, and there's infrastructure on those lands. So it's in lieu of taxes, because otherwise it can't be taxed. They're not just sending us money. It's not a welfare check, as they say. No. Those lands are actually used with infrastructure on it, but you can't tax it because it's a federal land, federal project. So you have to change the thinking, the mindset, which will be very difficult. I know you've been trying.
It's a work in action. It just takes time. It takes right people in office.
And I'm sure you, go ahead. I've done plenty of talking already, so go ahead.
Do you have any thoughts on Interstate 11?
Yeah.
Should we hear them?
Actually, I was privileged to be on transportation infrastructure.
Oh.
Actually, was one that introduced that I-11 piece, and I actually was on the conference committee when we got it approved in the transportation infrastructure. Which,
Oh, okay.
as a freshman, was a real privilege. I'm the vice chairman of the Highway and Transit, which is also a privilege as a freshman to be able to do that. And so here's what we do know. The studies have showed that it will cost us about $24 billion in construction costs to build I-11. It will bring almost $250,000 jobs to Nevada over the period of that construction, and leave us with about $29 billion worth of economic benefit in the future. Now the big challenge is, which is in the state's hands, to determine exactly where that corridor will go. You have to identify it before you can fund it. So it's there, it's designated from Las Vegas to I-80. Wherever it's going to go, that's the process. I would recommend to make sure that you contact Woody and Alphavant with the state, make sure that you have an opportunity to be on that discussion as people in your communities.
So there's a good chance you could bypass this area.
good chance that any of that stuff could happen, or you might just, they're gonna skirt a number of communities. They're not gonna go through, you can't go through Tennepoint, but you can skirt it. You can't go right through Hawthorne, but you can skirt it, so.
So the individual, is he head of the Nevada Department of
Yeah,
Transportation?
Rudy Malfabon is the DOT director.
Okay. So are we talking like 75% fed, some of that state? What kind of funding?
In the past, it's been about 75 to 80% match funding.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where it's going to be in the future.
Is it more or less?
It probably most likely be less.
Be less.
We've seen it decrease as we go. This is not going to happen overnight. You and I are not going to be here when this is finished.
I see.
But it's
Why would we?
some of your relatives.
Yeah, we just
Arizona, I-11 from Arizona's been going for a long time.
they've been working on it, or are they just?
Yeah, it's been constantly, it's all designated where it's at, it's just been.
Construction and stuff?
Yeah.
Construction has begun or has not?
It's been going on for quite some time, a number of years. But it's people moving the pace to get money. It's coming up, you got Victor, area, with Arizona, Mike, going down.
So you suggest that no longer that the state weights the rate percentages they're going to pay for?
But possibly. It could be less, but that's what my, in the past, our argument's been, we don't own the land, so,
I see.
federal government step up. This is something that benefits not just us, it benefits this country. And that's what the interstate process was set up for. And here's another economic benefit of I-11. It's been shown that any community that has intersecting interstates are the most prosperous, most profitable communities. Nevada has basically Las Vegas has no intersecting, so I-11 will help accomplish that. And then someday it'll go on up to Canada, supposedly, so that's the goal. Yes, sir.
And PK Higgins, there is some suspicion that I-11 is not to benefit us, the state of Nevada, but it's to benefit transit between Mexico and Canada. And there is been considerable discussion of that. It's not for the benefit of the residents of Nevada. What have you to say to that?
I say that anything that comes through here is going to benefit Nevada.
But it's not going to come through here. It's going to bypass us. It will Nevada.
It's going to come through Nevada. It
Well,
has to.
what about Goldfield?
Well, that's what I just said, is you make sure that you're involved in that discussion. It's going to come, may not go right through Goldfield, you can't come through Goldfield, it's going to skirt it.
Our best hope is they stay on this side of the mountain. That it comes right next.
I'll give you my community, Mesquite. Back in the 70s, the road used to come right through the middle of Mesquite. I-15, Highway 91, was through the middle of Mesquite. The fear was, oh my heavens, we're going to lose all these businesses because the people are going to shoot right on through on the freeway. That old freeway opened up in 1974-75. When I grew up in Mesquite proper, there was about 900 people and 20,000 cows. There's about 20,000 people with no cows in Mesquite now. And that freeway has done nothing but benefit our community. So you want to be as close as you can, yes, but just because it doesn't go right through your town doesn't mean that people aren't curious. It's up to you to market yourself as a tourism place. It's up to you. If people can get here better, the truck traffic. You don't have a lot of truck traffic now, but I do know that there's a lot of people that want to get all the way up to the 80 without having to go clear out on the 40 and come up somewhere and skirt up in some other direction to get to Chicago. A lot of stuff comes out of California, from that lower end of San Diego, the port's there, and then goes all the way to Chicago. That's one of the, and so there's opportunities there. We've got more trucks on the road today by far than we've ever had because of transportation. Those are dollars that can be spent in communities that people have to stop somewhere. So. And they need, and the more clear access we have to things, the better it is for environmental issues too. It's not just about our economy. It's about national security. That's why Eisenhower put it in place. National security issues to make sure that interstate be able to move for national security. It's still as important today as it was back then when we put it in place. In my opinion.
You know, of course here, our contention is always with the BLM. All troubles come from God that is from the BLM, that sends upon our community. Larry was going to ask something about it, Larry, because it's going to be used against you in the politics about the country and his fight with the BLM. We've had troubles in our area. The BLM has come and taken away our ranchers' cattle, and we've had troubles here over in Goldfield, done great damage to us. Larry, what was your question? It's kind of what the status or what can be done? Or?
Yeah, and if you are going to introduce legislation, or if you already have a plan to pertain it to the issues that Bundy and the other residents.
Well, we've introduced things last year, and then they got to a certain point, because we could never seem to come to an agreement. They might clear through the house, but they never get through the other side because they're held up. So it's going to be a process. We'll continue to work through it. We've actually got some issues that we've to solve some of these problems through the House already. So it's going to go to conference committee. Not on the right committee for that, but part of that process. I have to give a conference committee for the energy side, which has some big ramifications. This didn't happen overnight. You know, this has been sitting here for 150 years in our state. And it didn't matter years ago. It matters today. And it was mattered for many years. And the frustration. As far as the Bundys, you know, I've got people that agree with where I'm at, but they're mad at hell at me for not stepping up and getting Bundys out of jail. Really, folks? That's not my. If you're constitutional conservative, legislating does not interfere with judiciary, and so that's you don't use personal interest on anything. You don't. Those are ethically wrong thing to do. To do it through the legislative process. We're to create the laws. Presidents to uphold the laws, and judiciary is to interpret. Make sure the laws are understand.
One more question for you. On Goldfield, how familiar are you with the Goldfield issue as far as you're not at all? Okay, well, there's two towns. There's one, where's the other town? Indiana?
What's that?
There's two towns that, well, it was on our tax rolls for property tax and such. And in the 80s, I believe it was, somebody went to sell a piece of property out of there. Of course, they went to get title insurance. Come to find out that the last piece of paperwork didn't get filed in Washington for the town side. Although it had a school district, it had street lights that are run to it. In the 60s, they were run to it. And, anyway, it had all. The Esmeralda County believed that it was owned by the county, and it turned out that national file and everything was done. It happened right during the time when President Taft was coming in after President Roosevelt, and so it's believed that piece of paperwork somewhere got lost or fell through the cracks. And that's that town was privately owned, but now it's totally in contention. To be honest, it's not privately owned, even though up until into the 80s, 1980s, it was handled as if it was privately owned. So we've been trying to get a bill put through. I forget who was trying to put that bill through before, to privatize that town site and one other town site that I believe is in that town, that somehow we didn't get that last final approval filed away correctly in Washington, D.C. somewhere. And then only in recent times has it been discovered that it's not on it's not a patented town site. It's not in the list of patented town sites. So I know Nancy Bowen is fully school on this, and so is Bill Kirby on privatizing that line, that property. It's a little town site that we were trying to get privatized, which Esmeralda County thought it was.
Is there still records of any kind that talks about it, that shows any of these stuff?
Yeah, Esmeralda County has all their records, and but it doesn't show in Washington D.C. that it was filed and that it's final stamp of patented town site number.
Let's work together on it, see what we can do. I got staff that can hunt down lots of stuff.
Perfect. I have a person who, she was the commissioner's assistant. She lives in Goldfield, and she has a stack of paperwork quicker than you really want to know about. to show as much documentation as we can on the town side. Her name is Sandy Johnson, and maybe I could hook her up with some of your staff, and we could get this moving. And she could give you the history. It was a part of two bills. It was a part of one omnibus bill that didn't go through some 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
So there's already been some legislation written that didn't go through, but it was always a part of a larger bill that didn't pass.
So I'm sure I'm familiar with both ones that.
It's 15 miles from here. Actually, it's 30 miles. 15 miles south of here is the Latta Junction turnoff.
266.
266, so you make it right on 266. You go about 7 miles, and then there's a turnoff for Gold Point. You go another 7 miles, and you come to the town of South.
Okay.
So it's a cute little town out there, and there's about 7 people that live there. But they would love to own their land, as opposed to always. Because right now, as far as BLM concerned, they're squatters, but it's totally in contention.
So we have a town more desolate than dire.
Yes. Yes, it's dire, but without the name. Correct. So maybe Sandy Johnson and others will help get you up to speed on Goldfield.
Yeah, of course.
Well, Nancy's been working on some procedures also at this time where I do believe she's trying to get the BLM to sell us that town site, and we would resell it back to the residents.
Right, that was the last I heard, because like I say, twice it was in legislation
it's still just waiting for them.
didn't get passed, and that wasn't the only thing that was in the legislation, wasn't just focused on Gold Point. But, so this was our latest
we have it
hearing,
back in our
was to
tax.
actually purchase it out of a disposal area and then resell it to the people. But I didn't know if that actually was moving forward or not.
It's still in the works, yes.
Okay, well, but still, it's being purchased from the feds. Maybe you could help us with that
Right.
process.
You know who's backing it? Who's the?
Nancy Boland on our end, Commissioner Boland on our end is doing it. On the BLM side, I'm not sure who's,
It's in the body of but Congress that's.
I don't know if anybody's working on that part of it. She's just working directly with BLM.
Is that Tim Howard out of our Toronto office?
Yeah.
Or the gentleman out of Davenport?
I think it's Tim.
Tim, it's just been difficult. Tim has been difficult. Anyway, the person that was there before Tim was very easy to work with, and that's almost why we think he's not currently there. But Tim is just not always the easiest person to try to get things done with, and I'm not in her position, so I can say that easier now. So anyway.
There's precedent for doing that. Randsburg, California, the same situation, where they thought they owned the land, but federal legislation went through about 15 years ago, where they got titles to your land. Have they tried adverse possession or the U.S. federal? My house has done that.
Okay, well, there were some people here said that they ought to try adverse possession. But I don't know if anybody did it.
I have title for adverse.
If you get my staff up to meet speed on it, we'll start looking at all the avenues.
Okay, perfect. I think it was Dean, what was the senator that was here? It was the other senator besides Howard, who put forward the legislation, but it's in all of our information.
Folks, you're gonna have to speak up, I know nobody
Was
back
it-
here.
was it
can hear
Nancy?
you.
John Hanson?
Maybe that's who it was, Johnson.
And Heller, too.
And Heller, I think they both were on. So Heller, actually Heller sounds more familiar. He was probably the one who introduced it.
Yeah, well, there's that congressman.
Correct. So it's an important issue to those folks out there. You know, we're visiting here in Goldfield, and they don't always get the messages like we do. So I'm sure Sandy would have loved to have been here to ask you. So.
What else?
Any other questions?
Several hundreds, but can't answer if you don't ask them.
All right, I'll go ahead and be a travel logic. Is there any possible way of getting the federal government out of the Nevada state driver's licensing process? I have documentation up to here proving that when an American citizen, that I'm a veteran, all of these things, and they're not accepted by the state of Nevada as proof of these things. The Veterans Administration identification card with my picture on it. not acceptable to the federal government. Yes.
They're the ones that develop it.
No, they need a DD 214, which are somewhat difficult to get if you don't happen to have them in possession. It's fortunate that I have one copy. On the DD 214, it states where I was born, to Wichita, California. It's not acceptable. I need a birth certificate. Now, what if a federal birth certificate, that's on the document, and there's words. A hospital birth certificate is not acceptable. I was born in a hospital. I don't like to live in it.
Let's do this. Before we leave here, I'll get your name, address, phone number. I'll have staff. I got people, that's what they're paid to do. Professionals at it, know which directions to go. That's like I said, I don't think you was here, you saw there were 400 cases last year of these kind of issues continuing. So that's what we're here to do. So.
Well, see, it is my feeling, my opinion. I'm still entitled to an opinion in this country. Still, this is gratuitous nonsense, and it's the job of the federal government to make this life as difficult as possible for the individual. And they're doing a very good job of it. I hear these stories about the BLM. Is there any way of just doing away with BLM? I don't think there is, but they expropriate the land and then all
Congress
sell it.
created BLM. Congress can also dispose of BLM, but that's not going to happen. So it's going to take years and years and years of any process. People have to get in the mindset and get an education of how to do things. People are so good at selling their message about, these are public lands, but I believe they're state public lands. We were supposed to have these lands we're on fair and equal footing. Every state was supposed to be a laboratory of industry, competing one against another. The federal government was given certain enumerated powers. Article 1, Section 8 defines those powers. The federal government's gone way beyond that bounds, and the rest was left at the states. States will succeed, states will fail, but they always be bound to the code. It's like successful businesses and unsuccessful, you've got to go through a process. But I'm a firm believer that capitalism is the right way, and that's what you can do at the state level in a different method. But let the people that live in that state govern and make those decisions rather than, because one size fits all does not work in this country.
This is very refreshing to hear this.
Every school is different. I don't care, you might have the Clark County School District down here, the 5th largest in the nation, but there's not one school that's like another in Clark County. So you can't have this one size fits all education process. Some people have different needs in areas than others. We the people, that's what our founding fathers want us to do, we the people. You're supposed to be able to tell me what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to come home and report to you or show you what I've done, and you get to every 2 years decide, no, you haven't done what I said, so get rid of you. But guess what? You can tell me what to do, but I can't go back there and do anything right now because we basically don't have the same constitutional authority that was out there 80 and 100 years ago. So we're trying to make some changes. But please give me, or at least give staff somebody, you're coming here, I'll get that to the district staff. And
I'd be happy to do
I'll
that.
have to solve that problem for you. Anything else? Anything with my democratic crackers? Okay, good.
We may have them converted before that turns out. They need to come along.
They're good guys.
They really are. We just do their job.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Years ago, you were after Harley. Did you ever get one?
Do I have a Harley? Yes, I got 2 of them. I will say, not too long ago, I got rid of it because I didn't put any miles on it for 3 years. Somehow I seem to get tied into this politics. It kind of destroys who's in control of my life. These guys run my life, so. Yes?
Do you have any pull or connections with the FCC by chance?
Not
As far as
personally.
opening windows or anything, or staff know who you can contact? Could you contact for us to get an FCC window to open so we can get additional radio licenses for like Tonopah area? And
Let me get your number too, and let's get it in staff's like to say I know everything. I don't. I'm learning as fast as I possibly can, but I'm going to tell you, you can't do this without people that understand the process on the Hill. And I was blessed as a freshman. I got people that have a world of experience. I got to know who Chairman Buck McKeon was, but when he retired, I ended up getting most of his staff. So that's a blessing. That's guys that have experience, and that's the reason I've had what I believe successful in this first term in the last 17 months to do some things are done.
So is this airstrip thing, is that a state issue or is that a federal?
I think it has to do with the federal issue and the county issue, because I don't see the relationship between airstrip and the deal with the plan being a state issue. They can help.
Yeah, well, my problem with it is, like I say, the golden hour is gone usually by the time it's full of vaccine. And it's super critical to get an air ambulance. And a lot of times, if they're coming from Reno with a helicopter, they won't pass the helicopter in the field. That's their turnout. And we've got the same issue with Vegas a lot of times. So you've got,
Well, it's got to be a plane, because you can't get a helicopter out here without having to stop somewhere to refuel before he gets here back.
There goes Sunday, three calls a day, picking up people on the highway and around in here. And our own people in this town, we're elderly, many of us are, and many of us aren't in too good of health, and we can die before we, we're so isolated.
Here's even a bigger issue. A lot of the elderly that we're finding out in Philippi, and probably have the same issue here, when you respond, you go there and that person decides, no, I don't want to go to Vegas in your ambulance, because how do I get back?
yeah, exactly.
And so now these people go to stay, and then you end up losing an individual because they just don't, how do they get home? So,
The other issue there is Lifeline with bankruptcy.
It's true, it's $10,000.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's insane.
I've seen some of them upwards of $30,000.
Well,
Depending on what kind of situation you're in.
It's nonsense.
Well, when you see what it costs them, it's not necessarily nonsense on their part. It's a cost.
doesn't cost $30,000 to fly a Asia.
It doesn't cost you, but the equipment and all the stuff they have in there, you're talking millions of dollars. That helicopter was just up there at the airport just a few minutes ago when I was up there. That's a $7 million helicopter sitting there before you put all the stuff in it.
Jet Ranger?
It's the same with emergency rooms too. People don't realize the cost of that equipment and the stuff that's in the hospital. Of course, that they already got you in protocol, but our small area, the expense of having that hospital or an emergency room going, it's to have up-to-date equipment. It's mind-boggling, and we can't do it by ourselves.
Well, there's going to have to be a rethink about how we get a physician on hand
Yes.
and telepod it, because you can't handle a lot of these issues. Might be able to be stabilized and taken care of right there if we had the physician on hand. But, no physician is going to come out here and work for 30 cents on the dollar. And we need to figure out how we can solve that problem for the rural communities. This is not just a Nevada issue either, by the way. My rural health bill that is passed the House is a big issue that's at least passed the committee, is a big issue that we're seeing all across this country in rural communities. I think 70-something rural hospitals are closed in the last 5 6 years.
That's heartbreaking when you're working your tail off on somebody in the back of their ambulance and you've got 2 hours to go and you're out of it.
You can't just send a driver there to take care of a heart attack patient on an ambulance either. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you, and I'll do everything I can.
Thank you very much.